Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. So I did some digging to look just kind of at some things that maybe have been going on with Maui, things that have been talked about before in the tech world. And the reason why so in the last couple of videos that I've done, I hope I've made it clear that the West Coast in America, let's just say all of America is being destroyed, but specifically the West Coast. Now, when you're looking and analyzing the historical content of the world, your new world nations, such as Canada, Australia, and America, are like babies. They're like infants because our history, is only, it's under 300 years old or younger. So when you're looking at even the history of America, you're talking about the West Coast even being more like an infant in comparison to the Midwest and the East Coast, where a lot of our foundations were. So if you know any little bit of history here, you know that the West Coast has had its pioneer days and its resettlement of people to come out west. So the West Coast in general has this very transient energy that is not very stable, and it's changed through each kind of time period or decade or generation. The pioneer gold rush days are very different as compared to all of this. I can only speak of Seattle and the Pacific Northwest, like those Scandinavian immigrants predominantly coming over here post World War II and through the mid-century. So it's not stable, and now we're seeing a new trend and change. Amazon has come in and conquered Seattle and has destroyed it of its history and its culture. I have had past students, even some of my LGBT senior students, just even talk about, they're like, God, it's like the energy of Kali is just floating over Seattle. And they said this back in like 27 and 18. So people can feel a difference. They can feel that something has changed. The tech world has changed everything. People in Seattle no longer like what's happened to the city. It's, the tech world has raped this area of its indigenous cultural connections, its nature. This area used to be just chock full of energy healers and yoga instructors and, your REI outdoor enthusiasts. I mean, it was like an Eddie Bauer catalog. That's how I would explain it. And now Seattle has just turned into this very consumptive, overabundant, dark, rich area. It just feels different. So I'm going to move on. So I found this video. It's actually from 2015. And it's the new smart grid in Hawaii, JUMPSmart Maui project by Hitachi. So let's take a look.
Why can't we pull energy out of thin air?
No matter where you go around the world, reducing our impact on the environment and decreasing our dependence on fossil fuels is on everyone's mind. But how do you do it in a way that's going to benefit the most people? That was the question Hitachi asked before initiating the JUMPSmart Maui project. This initiative demonstrates how electric vehicles, smart grids, and renewable energy like wind and sun can benefit Maui's residents, and it underlines the positive impact that Hitachi is making on the environment.
It's our future.
All right, so I think there's enough said there. What does fascinate me is I would like to study this map more, because you see some windmills over here, and you see some looks like, I guess, I don't even know, factories, solar panels. So if you look at the map, did I take the map down? So where those things are formed are actually in the more mountainous natural areas of Hawaii. So I found that interesting. So after I found that video, I found the Cultivate Elevate guy, and he has a pretty good video here. So let's play this.
Update on the Hawaiian fires. Now I want you to look at this footage, and this sure doesn't look like a fire to me. It looks like something almost exploded or something went off. Now, what's interesting is certain things are still standing while other things are not. Now, the governor did say this is climate change doing this. Interesting. What they don't talk about is in January how they had in Maui a smart city conference to turn Maui into an entire smart island, changing everything to electric, renewables, solar panels, and pushing everybody into electric vehicles. 15-minute smart cities. So now what's also interesting is next month in September, Hawaii is hosting the Digital Government Summit utilizing AI to govern the island. It's almost like they're resetting something to start rebuilding for this in which they're trying to push. Now, when we look at all the climate change narrative that they're going to try to push, but they're not going to talk about the Weather Modification Act of 1976. I highly recommend everybody look into this act, because who is involved in the weather modification activities? Department of Agriculture, Department of Defense, Department of Interior, EPA, and NASA. So if they're modifying the weather, then could they have caused this event? So if we see that the Department of Defense and other factions are responsible for modifying the weather, well then if we look at direct energy weapons, we can maybe see how this can all relate to this event.
So that is very, very interesting. Like I kind of feel like, oh my God, I was right on this before I even knew any about this or started digging into it, because as I've said, I've watched Seattle get turned into this 15-minute city. Oh, not that one. Oh, not that one either. Hawaii is fascinating because, okay, so if we think about Hitachi is a Japanese company. I looked it up a little bit, but I actually don't really know a ton about it. I'm just assuming it's about technology in general. But it's almost like a new wave of elitism, maybe some takeover from Japan that is like the new 3.0, 2.0 version. I'm going to do a separate video about like the whole Oprah and Jeff Bezos thing, because a lot of what I've discovered from Jesse is really starting to connect the dots, and seeing things like what is happening in Maui, I feel is extremely, extremely concerning for the residents as well as for the children in Maui. I've lived on an island country in Australia. I lived there twice, and I'm aware of some of the logistics of things that get in and out, or it's really difficult, you know, to get in and out of islands, and how some illegal human transportation happens through mountainous areas is kind of concerning. But it seems like a lot of what is wanting to get rebuilt is part of this agenda, and to take over the island. So some Japanese history is actually really interesting. I don't really want to go too far in it, but you had a lot in the late 1890s. A lot of the Japanese started to come over to Hawaii as laborers who worked on the sugarcane plantations. So that, I think, was a mix of, well, this one says the main force of Asian laborers. I don't know the history, if they were brought there by force, or if it was part of just natural migration. Let's read this. In 1868, the first year of the Emperor Meiji's reign, the first group of migrant workers from Japan traveled to Hawaii. The first year people, this was also the first time a group of workers from Japan immigrated to another country. In the mid-19th century, disease brought by Westerners to Hawaii caused a drastic reduction in the population. I'm always skeptical on reading certain forms of history, because you just never really know what perspective you're getting on that. But, you know, the one thing when we're looking at forced migration of people around the planet, we are talking about the system creating this. This is not your everyday human being that lives in your neighborhood that is just trying to raise a family and live a life. Like the forcing of people, and the people that came to this country were from people in the system, predominantly within that realm of the Khazarians. So if we continue to look, you know, we have the attack of World War II. So seems to be a lot of Japanese empire elitism that is important to this island nation. So I think looking into, you know, bloodline families and stuff will always be really important. But, you know, Pearl Harbor kind of put Japan and the United States into a state of war. The expansion of the Japanese empire's sphere of influence that had begun at the end of the 19th century had an effect on the relations among ethnic groups in Hawaii, as well as the military significance of Hawaiian Islands for the United States. Hawaii was placed under martial law immediately after the attack, and various restrictions resulting from military rule were extended over people's daily lives. So if this kind of happened back in World War II, I kind of wonder what restrictions and limitations are going to be put onto the daily lives of these poor individuals who are going to be displaced. Not that one. Oh, so talking about that digital summit, it looks like Hawaii has two coming up. You have Snapdragon Summit 2023 with Qualcomm. I don't really know a lot about Qualcomm besides the fact that if you look them up, it's all about artificial intelligence, 5G wireless technology. Yeah, I need to say more, not much. But their logo is very interesting. It's almost similar to a Firefox. I mean, you have this yin-yang approach. You could probably figure out like a 666 through that. It just, you know, all this tech stuff, it's evil and demonic in the same time. But this Hawaii Digital Summit in 2023, so the guy in the video, the Cultivate Elevate, talked about one in January, but they have another one coming up in September, the Digital Government Summit in Honolulu. And so some of the overview, the Digital Government Summit brings together technology focused on the public sector professionals with leading industry partners to connect on innovative approaches, get inspired, and discover new technologies. You can go to this website and browse through it. Your beloved governor of the state of Hawaii will be there. I didn't know he was a medical doctor. That is kind of actually really interesting. Just when you think about, I would actually like to know when he got into office, because if you think about the lineage from COVID to now, it's kind of fascinating. But anyways, what I wanted to get to is that this guy right here, Jack Shaw, is doing the keynote speaker, or he's the keynote speaker. And I mean, I actually didn't even see this until just now. I actually went to his website. But he is, ding, 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 a Yale University graduate. If you know anything about how the system works, especially with your Masonic sector, the Masons, the Masonic realm is actually a little bit bigger than what we think. And the Masons is actually, they're one of 5 parts of the pillar of the system that I've recently discovered through Jesse, and I actually want to do a separate video on that. I wanted to do all my questioning everything videos in sequential order because it would help you make sense. I kind of feel like I almost need to skip over a couple of those videos, like talking about the sketchy gurus, and just get to the other stuff so we can move on and help people start to understand. George Bush was one of those lovely Yale University graduates. So seeing this, excuse me, tech guy who wants to talk about the emerging technologies of AI and IoT. I don't even know what that is. I live like it's 1945 still, but transforming state and local governments to these exciting technologies. A lot of these exciting technologies were predominantly used by your federal government, and now it looks like they're bringing them into more of the state and local government. Poor Hawaii. I mean, it is absolutely awful. And what's even awful is the people that have no clue what's going on. Like, they have no clue any of this is happening. I mean, look at all these corporate sponsors, Oracle, AWS, it's micro shit. It's, I don't know. I don't even know. I kind of feel like I'm not having a lot of hope for the future, because it seems like these companies have just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and more powerful. Google for government. Yay! More suppression of free thinking and suppression of information. So anyways, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I wanted to share this, and hopefully the next video will kind of help connect some further dots. But it does seem like there is this interest in transforming the island, like a place like Seattle that predominantly had a lot of indigenous culture, spiritual significance, and the tech colonization has come and raped us of everything. You know, out here, the two main emblems, if you think about Seattle, they're not like a logo or anything, but it was always Mount Rainier and the orca whale. And now it's the fucking Amazon from A to Z little smiley sign. We should actually flip that. Let's invert it. I think it's the Amazon logo. Let's look this one up. Yeah, it's like, you know, this one, what we should do is just flip it so it's a frowny face, and then the little A's are like the eyes, and it's like, no more. So let's invert that shit. But this guy's disgusting. But anyways, that's what I want to share, because it's, I mean, this stuff is happening everywhere. So I even know, like, Texas, when Amazon was looking to put in their headquarters, their H2, I think like Texas kind of welcomed the arms, but it's like, just stop being so innocent on that. You do not want these type of companies. Like, I don't know if Texas has changed at all after like companies like Oracle moved there, but you don't want these companies, you don't want these people to come. And I'm not judging them in that sense, but it's, you know, I'm friendly with a lot of them. I don't judge people individually, but it's just the group and culture of it has been kind of destructive and very disconnected. I don't think this mass consumeristic, materialistic lifestyle that we've led for a long time has done any good. And then I think you add technology on top of it, and it clearly makes life and things a lot worse. People are struggling, and people seem to really want to have some form of connection. And the more destroyed this country, our culture, and society gets, the worse off we're going to be. So hopefully throughout these dark times in places like Maui, that there can be a better banning of the country. Yeah, I'm just gliding through this guy's thing. His team successfully vaccinated 37,000 people. Oh my God, it kind of reminds me of Australia. They just, you know, just jab up those Aborigines. And yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Thank you. Bye-bye.